I also want to associate myself with the sentiments that have been made by my colleagues. And I also do not want to delve so much on the judgment that was delivered last week, because I've actually gone through it. In all aspects, I'm actually against it by all standards, because it actually does not meet jurisprudential, authority in all aspects. I mean, the learned judges, Honorable Speaker, only focused on what we call the school of thought in jurisprudence that we call positivism, where they are so keen on unnecessary positivism and they ignore the element in a very social matter, ignore the socialism jurisprudence, ignore the natural law in all aspects, Honorable Speaker. But I do not want to go that direction, Honorable Speaker. But of importance, Honorable Speaker, for me, it is the character of the Council of Governors. Honorable Speaker, NG-CDF is 2.5% of the national budget. Each constituency gets about 130 million thereabout when you do tabulation. County governments get a minimum of 15%. In fact, this house gave them in the last financial year 25% last financial year. About 25 or 26% thereabout. In the last financial year, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when you do tabulation, you'll realize that in the 2.5% that we get, or the constituencies get in terms of the NG-CDF, each constituency gets about 120 million at the highest, or 140 million shillings. Honorable Speaker, with the allocated amounts in the counties, some counties that get about 11 billion in the shared revenue, place in their budget 500 million for the office of the governor's expense. 500 million. But NG-CDF for the consumption of the common mwananchi, only 100 million. With 11 billion in some counties, and even some of them getting up to 15 billion, you will actually need a microscope, and I've said this several times, to see what governors do. But they were the first people to go in court, Honorable Speaker. They applied to be interested parties in this matter. They even wrote a letter to the Chief Justice. And in now very common character and demeanor of the current court, Honorable Speaker, they've applied what we call judicial activism, populist rulings, populist judgments, where they now get their jurisprudence from Facebook, from social media, from messages they get, and sometimes from some political leaders who are against very important constitutions.
The Honorable Makali Mulu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also want to add my voice to this important debate. And without really repeating what my colleagues have said, I want just to raise three issues. The first one, Honorable Speaker, as a person who has a lot of experience in development matters, Honorable Speaker, the NG-CDF as a development model has been confirmed to be one of the best in this world. And that's the reason, Honorable Speaker, why a number of assemblies, national assemblies in different countries, have actually come here to benchmark on this model. And I'm surprised when I see our judges being so ignorant about this important model. The second point, Honorable Speaker, is that when you look at the way this model operates, it's only about 5% which goes to administrative expenses. There is no other development model in this world which uses only 5% in terms of, Honorable Speaker, administrative expenses. And I think that's why my colleagues are saying, Honorable Speaker, that the governors and the senators are getting concerned about an issue. Because if you go to the county governments, the recurrent expenditure, Honorable Speaker, goes all the way up to 70%. So, Honorable Speaker, what worries me most is that our judges, Honorable Speaker, who live in this country, and I do expect they also visit their rural setting, should have seen what development has been done through CDF. And more so, Honorable Speaker, the issue of bursaries to the needy students. They can remove the members of parliament from the program, but if the program is good, Honorable Speaker, I would recommend that we retain the program and get a way of keeping the members of parliament out of it. Even now, we are only patrons, Honorable Speaker. We are not implementers. So, Madam Speaker, what worries me most is a situation where instead of our judges fixing what is not working, they want to destroy what is working. That is unfortunate, and we cannot allow that. So I want to urge our honorable members, honorable Speaker, that we make sure this important fund is entrenched in the Constitution, and this House has the power to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, the ball is in our court. Can we do that as soon as possible so that we bury this matter forever? Thank you, honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Migori, Honorable Fatuma Mohammed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the country is mourning and our children are very sad. NG-CDF is the reason why parents smile when they see us when we go back home, because they depend on NG-CDF. And the court should be aware that this thing does not help a member of parliament at all. We have no business with it. Our business is to give it back to the community where it belongs. It beats logic when the court says that this is unconstitutional. In fact, this should be amongst the 10 commandments of God. It should be the 11th commandment from the human being, because this is the reason why most vulnerable students and children are in school. Members of parliament have always supported these children with their own money. Even the money given by NG-CDF is not enough. I can imagine in Nyateke sub-county where I come from, the only business we do there is gold mining. It cannot even support our children to go to school. So we run to our members of parliament to get help so that the children can be in school. NG-CDF does not help rich families, it helps poor families. So we are appealing as Kenyans, not as members of parliament, as Kenyans, that this was a wrong move to deny Kenyans and the population of the children an opportunity to be in school. Look at the scenario now. First of all, it is delayed all the time. And then now it is said it's unconstitutional. So, Madam Speaker, I think that the court needs to sit down and rethink. The judges, I am not against the judges, but I think they should rethink this, reconsider what they said about NG-CDF. They are not in contact with the people in the village. Their job, their responsibility makes them detached from Wananchi. But if they were to sit in the village and sit with the locals and drink uji with them, they would understand what parents and the children from the vulnerable families are going through. NG-CDF, it's like devolution itself. Without this, we will reach Nairobi, we will reach the Ministry of Education, even to bring a query to that sector for what is going on through our schools, through our students. So I beg that they reconsider, and instead of telling us 2 years, then they rather just disband parliament, because we have no business being here. Madam Speaker, it is disappointing, and I'm praying that they change their mind.
The Honorable Member for Mwingi West, Honorable Charles Busia. Pressing the bell, the intervention.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just want to join my colleagues in what they have said. CDF doesn't belong to members of parliament. CDF belongs to Kenyans. CDF, we have got a testimony of the number of people who have been educated, orphans who have become doctors, orphans who have become pilots, orphans who have become lawyers because of the matter of the CDF, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just followed the ruling in the court, and it seems majority of the 3 judges, actually, they don't have even children in this country. Because they are rich, they think they can only educate their children in London without depending on CDF, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, removing the CDF out of this country is going to be travesty of justice, because it is the only fund we have seen in all over the constituencies, in all the villages in this country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is high time we educate the judiciary that money, the CDF money is not for members of parliament. We need to support it, I ask the fellow colleagues, let us move very fast. We'll entrench this fact in the Constitution. Let us move very fast. We even change the act, even anything that is contagious for these facts, Madam Speaker. I want to support my colleagues, and we are not going to let the CDF to go anywhere. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I support.
The Honorable Didi Raso, member for Saku. Still time, it will get to
Thank you very much,
and if we can speak for
Honorable
2 minutes,
Speaker.
more people will participate.
Honorable Speaker, I have this belief that judges and lawyers are the best people in town. But sitting back and listening to that judgment, I have my own doubt that our judges, I think, are not well informed. They do not understand the chemistry, the history, and the character of this country. Without CDF, the children of the Dasanaj, the people who live on the shores of Lake Turkana, will not be able to go to school. The El Molos, the Sakuyes of Dabel. For those of us from the pastoralist communities, the marginalized, we feel that CDF is the fund that has arrived. When on just the span that 3 judges can sit at the bench and say this is unconstitutional. Unconstitutional to who? CDF is about the people of this country. If there are no people, then there's no constitution. What does the constitution serve? Madam Speaker, as a house, we have a duty. Our responsibility is to make laws for this country, and the best laws for that matter. And we must enact the laws for CDF, that it must be enacted in the Constitution, so that those judges must feel that the House has powers to do what is right for the people of this country. Madam Speaker, without CDF, 3/4 of the children of Marsabit today are not going to school. If no CDF, there will not be enough school in the pastoralist areas. But what the MPs have done is to think around, to think out of the box, to allow the people to settle and to allow schools to be put up. Education is the greatest equalizer. If no CDF, then there will be no that equality. For that reason, I agree and I accept what the honorable lawyers who represented us in court are saying. Let us move with the speed and enact the national government CDF in our constitution. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Member for South Imenti, Honorable Shadrach Mwiti, who was actually the first this afternoon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Education is a pillar in this country, and for this country to prosper, education is very important. Secondly, Madam Speaker, security is vital to protect our people, and NG-CDF is very critical for us to make education and security. Madam Speaker, I concur with my fellow honorable members that NG-CDF is very important to be dispersed through the honorable members of this House. Madam Speaker, there is a perception, especially from the county government, that the members of the National Assembly don't utilize the funds in the right way. Madam Speaker, if you assess our constituencies, you'll find that most of the projects are done by the members of the National Assembly and not the county government. Madam Speaker, interference of the NG-CDF means crippling development in the constituencies, and also, Madam Speaker, it means bring down the central government. The funds from the NG-CDF are from the central government, and there is no relationship between the NG-CDF and the funds in the central government. Madam Speaker, I support that the act should be entrenched so that we can have the funds having disbursed or having no more interference in the future. Madam Speaker, it is frustrating when the legal fraternity is interfering with the NG-CDF, knowing very well that the children of this country, the bright students, and also the disadvantaged students are highly supported by the NG-CDF. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Better North.
Madam
Then
Speaker,
after that, it's you, Honourable Oundo.
Madam Speaker, thank you. CDF has played a very critical role when it comes to the marginalized areas, Madam Speaker. We have many constituencies, many areas in the Republic of Kenya which are extremely marginalized. Recently, Madam Speaker, I went to ensure a school which has mud-walled classrooms in my constituency last week to ensure we change the face of that school. And those photos, Madam Speaker, when I posted them on my social media, many Kenyans could not believe that we have such kind of schools in some of our constituencies. Without CDF, Madam Speaker, many children who are going through CBC curriculum will not be able to enjoy an environment where they can nurture their talent as far as CBC curriculum is concerned. We not only have such kind of primary schools at the moment in our constituencies, in marginalized areas, but we need to change the face of such kind of schools. If we don't have CDF, Madam Speaker, most of our communities, most of the children of the very poor in marginalized areas will remain disadvantaged, will remain in big problems, and they will not be able to achieve what they are supposed to achieve, because these are, in most of these marginalized areas, you'll find we have very bright kids who can go even to Afant through scholarship if they go through the training process, the schooling process in the most appropriate way. Madam Speaker, I want to rebuke the judgment which was made by the 3 judges. It's high time this House come up with the amendment of the Constitution so that we can entrench CDF in the Constitution, so that kids, children of the very poor can also be able to enjoy the education which other kings of the rich are enjoying. It can't be. It's only in academies where we have proper running atmosphere. Even in those areas, the kings of the very poor, they also deserve proper environment where they can nurture their talent, they can nurture their skills, and they can be children of the world. They can be able to work in every corner of our nation, not only of our nation, but every corner of the world. Madam Speaker, I support what the members have said, and we need to craft.
The Honourable Member for Funyula, Honourable Oundo.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for this opportunity. Let me take this opportunity to sincerely thank our colleagues who stood in for us during this long, odious battle to save the lives of the people of Kenya. Honourable Speaker, I attended the judgment that Friday, and we left with the heavy legs, heavy heart, and I can see my friend Droppings was here with him, and I sincerely felt that it was extremely unfair on the tone and the wording and the way the 3 judges dispensed of the matter. Honourable Speaker, I want to tell the people of Kenya very, very clearly. Number one, the import of the judgment was that a constituency is not a service delivery center. So it means essentially any person who votes in a constituency is simply a voting machine whose voice cannot be listened in the eyes of the judicial officers. They simply said, Honorable Speaker, they only recognize the counties. They do not recognize the constituencies. In their own words, they say that constituency is merely a center of representation, but it's not a center of service delivery. So therefore, people of Funula constituents, for example, cannot come together and go anywhere and demand development. They'll be told by virtue of that judgment, you have no local standard, whether that's right or not, to demand any development. Honorable Speaker, I want to take the judges through history. We used to have rural district-focused development. And Honorable Speaker, you saw the inequitable distribution of resources in this country. Up to now, Honorable Speaker, there are parts of this country, they have never seen piped water. There are many parts of this country, Honorable Speaker, if it wasn't for CDF, they will not even have a classroom in their constituencies. And we want to appeal to the judiciary. Do not live in ivory tower. Just come down here and realize how bad things are. Come down here and see the importance, the impact of NG-CDF. Compare with the 12 or so years of devolution, and let's do a comparative analysis, Honorable Speaker. It does not require anybody to do anything. You simply have to appreciate. At times, the law judicial activism must be laced with public policy, public interest, Honorable Speaker. I want to urge our colleagues, time to lament is now gone.